Hello, welcome again to the YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Claude Anderson, your host. I'm here to bring you a section of broadcasting or podcasting. It is now called Connecting the Dots, which means we try to take what's going on presently and connect it to history so you can find out what was in the center that's missing that nobody wants to talk about. That's why they're right now saying we don't need no racial history in this country. We're for right making trying to pass laws that's forbidden to teach history because what they want to do is to make sure that nobody ever finds out why blacks are in a dilemma in this country and any place on the world, including Haiti and all these Caribbean islands. It defies mathematical probability for black folk to be on the bottom all around the world and to have been there for 465 years. That's no accident. Black folk have never been permitted to be any more or any less than what white folk wanted them to be. You see, the whole point of history was that when white Europeans came to this country, they came here as freeloaders. And see, when you all don't call them that, that's exactly what they are. They knew they were coming as freeloaders. When they entered out all the prisons, all the poorhouses, all the mental institutions, and put them on boats and sent them over here to the United States. And the first thing they did was build a new state, form a new state called Georgia, and to build a filter to stop the run of slaves from running away from South Carolina into Florida. But that whole thing was built and designed to keep black folk contained. Keep and the reason they're going to try to do that because you see because black slaves were I call native blacks because they're not African blacks, they're natives. These blacks are born in the United States, are born on ships after they were kidnapped out of Africa. So they're not Africans. They were raised totally independently, either on those boats or on, and after they arrived in America for the last 400 some years, they are natives. Plus, in addition to that, we had blacks in this country as Folsom people way before the American Indians ever came to this country, were ever formed, and came out of Asia across the Bering Straits. And so the Indians trying to get ahead of blacks by saying, we are natives. You're not any natives either. Came across the Bering Straits after blacks. That everybody on the earth came to the earth and followed black folk. The only natives you got on the earth are black people. They were the original natives. Everybody else came here. They were followers. They came here and were raised in either in Asia or European on the European continent or in the Pacific Islanders as freeloaders. They got some of the free benefits of what the historical blacks were creating on the earth. Blacks were the original people on the earth. And so what do you call them? Native Americans or original people? That's what blacks are entitled to, which makes them very special people. And so right now, we need to do something about these blacks with the present administration. See, Biden got elected with he and Harris running as vice president because they promised they're going to do certain things for black folk. They've been in there now over a year, about a year and almost a year and a half, and they have not done one single thing for black folk. I don't think the word black has ever crossed their lips since they got elected. But now, when it was time for the vote to go out, they put up a pretense, a false, a straw man talking about, we got to get the black vote because that black vote is exempt. We need to have that to get elected. First of all, they didn't need the black vote because you see, black folk were outnumbered 9-1 in this country. You got 9 other ethnic groups in the country, and if you break it down to parts, black folk only constitute 1 out of the 9 or 10 groups in this country. So black vote is not that necessary. They did that because they're gonna do what they call sneaky suppression of the black vote. They've been suppressing the black vote since the Constitution in 1789, and people are talking about they're suppressing our vote. The Constitution suppressed your vote. Until you go back and deal with the Constitution and correct it, you're going to always be suppressed. And that's built into the Constitution that black folk were to be suppressed. And even in 18 after the Civil War, they went back and suppressed you again in the second Constitution. You got 2 constitutions in the United States. You got the first one written by Thomas Jefferson and back in 1789, and you got a second constitution that was written in 1865. It was written strictly and solely for black folk. Later on, they changed it from being a second constitution because they didn't want you to know about it. And in there, that's where all your civil rights acts came out of, because the whole point of the civil rights movement was supposed to be to correct the Dred Scott decision of 1857, which says black people in America have no rights, and but you do have rights. You got a second constitution, which is starting with the 13th Amendment. The 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendment are major elements in the second constitution. And on top of that, they put in what's called the civil rights law that was passed in 1865 and 1866, which specifically identified black folk and said the whole point of these laws and the civil rights laws and those constitution amendments is to correct and reverse the 1857 Dred Scott decision. They're not there. They didn't put those laws up for minorities or poor folk. You didn't have any minorities and poor folk in America. All those people started coming to America after the Civil War was over. When they found out they can come in here and they can get low wages and work on the railroads like the Chinese and all of them, but they were still safe. Nobody was denying them anything. They can have their own communities and have their own businesses and make money that way and be competitive with black folk. So Chinese Asians came in here. They've been coming in ever since. And lately they've been bringing in either Pacific Islanders who've been doing very well because they're displacing black folk. You go to a hospital or for any kind of a medical treatment right now, about 90% of the medical people you're going to find in those various institutions and on those organizations are going to be other people other than blacks or whites. They're going to be people coming in either from the Far East, from Asia, or coming in from the Pacific Islands. And so you find out another thing they're doing now. These Asians are coming into the country and raising Cain and trying to find bills that would say black folks are not entitled to preferential treatment in the university and admission processes in these universities, on set-asides for minorities. Black folk are not a minority. They are a majority. They've always been an exceptional majority. They're exceptional people. They're special people. They're entitled in special treatment that this country has never given them. And that's what black folks should be in the streets doing right now, is saying we are special, unique people. Nobody in this country, no ethnic group, religious group, cultural group has come here and suffered the way we have been denied all the rights and privileges that we've been denied. And they're coming and getting all the opportunities that we've been denied. So get out there and start doing it. Start raising Cain and says, we're going back to the Power Pack books that Dr. Anderson put out. Everything we need to know is in those Powernomics books. You can get those books by going to the website. Go to powernomics.com and get the Power Pack and start to reading the first one at the bottom of the pack, which is Black Labor, White Wealth. It'll take you straight up through 5 books, and there won't be one question that you can ask that should not have been answered by now and in those books. Get out there as soon as you can and order it off the website. And if you can't do that, just call the Powernomics Corporation and order it on the phone. I look forward to hearing from you. You take care, love, respect, and safe. Be safe in any regard other than being endangered by what's going on overseas in Ukraine. Thank you. See you next time.